we just started like this whole next thing. And what we told you a few weeks ago is that we thought we were going to be here at the Exchange for a long time. And then we got here, and it's been an amazing journey so far. You can kind of watch the updates online, but to give you the short version, essentially we're going to be leaving here pretty soon and going to a new facility. And so for a couple of months, we were praying on what God would have us to go and what he would have for us. And there was one sort of location that continued to bubble up, and that place is literally right across the street. It's called La Scala, and it was a wedding venue, restaurant. How many of you have ever been to La Scala? If you were around Dublin area, oh yeah, a lot of you. How many of you have like had pasta at La Scala? Somebody, of course you had, because you wouldn't go there and get chicken fingers. You're going to go there and get pasta. So, okay, I would go there and get chicken fingers, but you would go there and get pasta. So La Scala, and we've been praying about this, and really we've been praying that God would give us this facility to meet in, and the way that he's opened doors along the way has been extraordinary. And so a few weeks ago, I spent the whole Sunday, and I just kind of talked about this. We asked you to do a couple things. We asked you to pray boldly. And we said, hey, I want you to pray that God would give us this facility, that we'd be able to meet there in like a 24/7 lease space. We'd be able to figure it out with our budget, all these kinds of things. We asked you to do that. And we said, as you're praying that God would give us this building, also pray if that's not it, that he would show us what the other things are. And many of you are sending me selfies while you were at La Scala praying, which I love. Like that parking lot hasn't seen this much stuff happen in about a year and a half, which is amazing. And so you're showing up and you're doing all sorts of things. It's been crazy and amazing. And then we said this, if you were new to our church, you've been around for a little bit, to make this church your church, right? You could be on the fringes, but we need everybody to lock arms for this next season and wherever we're going. Don't be passive. We want you to lean in and be a part of this thing. And so we've been doing that. And we said this, that we're going to move together in faith as if we were going to get this building, even though we weren't sure about it. We weren't sure what was going to happen. And so it's been an amazing, amazing journey so far. The other thing that we told you, we're going to try to raise $85,000, which was, I think at the time, it was like 54 days that we had, and to raise that money, which has been amazing. And you stepped up right out the gate. And I think I gave you an update last week on what you did the first week. Now, I want to give you an update on what you've done so far. This is 2 weeks in. What you've already given is $49,320 in 2 weeks, which is amazing. Yeah, you should give it up for that. That's extraordinary, extraordinary. So we wanted to say thank you so much for partnering with us. I know many of you are still considering what you're going to do, but we believe that we're going to be able to raise this $85,000 internally. So I really want you to lean into that as you're considering it, and we're still working our way through that. That $85,000, I told you I think last week I said this, that it's the second option that we were looking at would be literally the same price as us to go to La Scala at 24/7 lease space and to pay this $85,000. It would be the same price to rent the other place one day a week for about 4 hours. And so it's just been amazing how this works. We're going to fundraise either way. But for us, as we got into this, we have just an amazing opportunity to lean into that. And so many of you already stepped up. I love this too. This is just, I think this speaks volume of our church. You actually donated the $49,000? Yeah, $49,000 without being sure that we were getting La Scala. And I just wanted to tell you, that's extraordinary. That's amazing. Thank you for doing that. And so I get really excited to tell you this. This past week, we met with the city. So there were a couple hurdles we got to jump through. One is we got to get it from restaurant to now a church space. So, you have to talk to people that are pretty far above my pay grade to do that. So we went to the city. We sat there. I'll tell you just the way that God has worked through this. There were all sorts of things that could have happened with this. But really, Ryan Steigel. Everybody say, hey, Ryan Steigel. The Ryan Steigel. Do this, everyone. Yeah. He did remarkable work on this, and because of a lot of the work that he was doing, the way that he anticipated things, oftentimes there's debate around these topics. People really get passionate, involved about this, but we've done so much on the front end that they moved us from one part of the agenda where they talk about it to one where they just give a thumbs up. So we were there for about 10 minutes, and then they voted yes, and so we got to do that, and yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing. And the city officials were extraordinary too through all that. So it's just been an amazing process so far. And then we've been working on so we got that step. There's 2 other steps. One of them is a lease, and then one of them is and then figuring out one little occupancy thing. But outside of that, I'm super excited to tell you that we have the La Scala building. So we're super excited about that. Yeah. And I'll tell you that we found out that on Friday around 5 o'clock, and if you were there yesterday, you know that we did a work day on Saturday. So right in the nick of time, last minute, we did our first serve day in the building, and I'll tell you, I was really hoping that we'd just be able to clear the walls and get everything off the walls. But let me show you these pictures real quick. You came in, and we did so much. We were able to put a whole coat of paint on the entire auditorium in one day, and by we, I mean most of you, not me, because they didn't give me a paintbrush, but we'll talk about that later. I want a big shout out to Ian. I think Ian Carity actually showed me how to spackle yesterday, which is pretty great. I'm not sure how old he was, but he's a lot younger than me. So anyway, but we did this yesterday. You guys worked. We were able to not only get everything off the wall, we did a full coat of paint in the auditorium. We got the restaurant blank and ready to start painting in there, which is going to be our lobby section. And then we got into the kids' room. We were able to fully paint the preschool room in a day. And so we are moving and making traction. One of my favorite parts of this, I love this over here. We had these shirts made for 30 people back in the day because they were literally on the street telling people about what we were doing at Nuvo. So on the back it says, a new church coming to Bridge Park. And then Ryan just had a vision from God to say, hey, we're going to put La Scala on the back of it with duct tape because that's how we roll. So no, that was amazing. But you can see these pictures. It's amazing. So if you came out yesterday, I want to do this real quick. If you came out yesterday, I just want you to raise your hand real fast. There are about 40 of you that came out yesterday. That's amazing. Can we get up for these guys real quick? Many of them are there all day. It's extraordinary. So we have got the ball rolling, but there is a lot of work still to do. And so we still got a lot to do. And so I want to tell you a little bit about where we're going right now and then what we're going to try to accomplish in the next few weeks. So our upcoming schedule, I'll tell you this. March 13th is actually going to be our last day here at the Exchange. So next week will be our last day here. So I'd love for you to come, tell everybody about it. We're going to make a big deal out of this day. It's going to be great. I'd love for you to come next week. March 13th, that'll be our last Sunday here. March 20th, that's a Sunday. What we're going to do is make that just a full-on work day for everybody that attends our church. And so here's what I know. You have that time blocked out in your calendar already. I know, you put church in, I know you got it. So I'm going to ask you if you would to show up and come, and let's work on this together. So we're going to build this together. I'm going to ask you to be a part of that work day. We're going to do a whole day. We'll feed you. We're going to have a great time. Stay as long as you can, but we're going to do that. So that'll be on March 20th. And then March 27th, we're going to do a pop-up gathering and a work day that day too. So how many of you have ever been at one of our pop-up gatherings? Anybody? I laughingly say, this is what we did in the hotels. This is our service without calling it a service because it's almost a service. So that's what we're going to do with pop-up gatherings. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some music. We're going to scale it back a little bit, and then I'm going to teach for a little bit. But then after that, we're going to feed you, and then we're going to hang out and continue to work in the building. So that'll be March 27th and April 3rd. Both of those will be those kinds of days. And then April 10th, we'll have a preview service at La Scala. So this will be the first time we kind of bring all this stuff back out, and it'll be kind of the day that's kind of testing everything, make sure we're good. But it'll be kind of a regular service on April 10th. And then we're trying to get everything done by April 17th, which would be the day that we have our first big grand opening and service. So I'm going to ask you two things. I want you to be a part of these Sundays, right? I want you to be consistent with, they're excited about it. Be consistent through these weeks, but then secondly, I'm going to ask you to invite like crazy to Easter. This is a big day. Anytime there's a grand opening, it's a really easy time to ask people to be a part. So we'd love for you to do that. Now, so this is what this is going to look like, but I have a big ask if you attend our church, right? Because I'm going to ask you to do. We can't do this without you, right? And some of you have watched me use a drill, and you would just amen that. But here's what I'm going to ask you to do, right? We're going to ask you during this season to consider really locking arms with us and helping us make this building transform into a church, right? So I would say if you attend our church regularly, this is all for you. What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to give us, if you would, one day during the week, Saturday, and these work days on Sunday, right? Now you're going dude, that's a lot. That's a big ask. That's that got weird. But it's a big ask, right? You know what I'm saying? It's a big, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do, though. I'm going to ask you to do this, right? Evan, sorry. I just saw Evan crack. Sorry. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to take those 3 days, or at least a week, and for a short season and a sprint. Let's do this together, right? So if you can come during the night of the week, great. If you're hey, I'm not sure when I can make it, you're texting me, that's great. I'm going to ask you to come during these times, and we're going to transform this space into a church, but it's going to take all of us leaning in to do that. And there's plenty of work for us to do. So we'll get in there. There's painting. How many of you have ever done drywall before? Go ahead and raise your hand. Have you ever done drywall? Take a picture. Somebody take a picture so we can get that. Yeah. There's a little bit of drywall where some of y'all are I'm not dumb. I'm not raising my hand. I don't want y'all to ask me that. Yeah. But we're going to do those kinds of projects. We're going to need your help with this. We need you to do that. So I know it's a big ask. one day a week during the week. Maybe it's an evening, or if you can do it during the day. The second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to block out as many Saturdays between now and Easter as possible to help us on these work days. And then the third thing is, as we do these Sundays, to continue to be consistent doing that. Now, this week, this is what it looks like, right? Wednesday night, Wednesday, we're going to do, March 9th, we're going to do a work day in the room. Thursday, we're going to do a work day there. And then obviously this Saturday. So 3 specific days this week. If you're available on those 3 days, we would love to have you out, come in, and you can register for that. So all you got to do is go to nuvochurch.org/next, right? nuvochurch.org/next. I know you're wanting to do this right now. So, I should be pulling out my phone. I should go ahead and tell them what day I'm going to come. But RSVP, so we make sure to have food for you, all those kinds of things. But we would love for you to be a part of that. And then I've said this a lot.